Hello, my friends, and welcome to part 6 of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Loner Deck Battles series, Limit 1 Festival Edition. Okay, so today we're getting into the final Loner deck called the All-Seeing Reptilian Eye. Look at that, I was able to say the name without even having to look at it. Anyway, so here's the deck again. I won't go through it I already did a first look, so if you want to watch that, you can always go back. That's where I went through all the cards. This one, I'm just going to go through generic plays you can make, how to win, and other cool tips and tricks that you can do with the deck. So anyway, so here's the walkthrough section. So, first of all, since it's simple, not too bad, it can be used as hand fodder, but I don't really use it a ton. Like, there's not like really a lot of cards that you really need to have it be hand fodder for. I mean, you could also just send to the graveyard in a few other ways and get back to your hand, but since it's not a reptilian, I don't think it's as good as some others. Like, there's usually others you want to have in the graveyard first, like Reptilian Naomi, because she can special summon herself, and unlike some other things that special summon themselves in the graveyard, since she doesn't get banished when she leaves the field, since she isn't one of those, doesn't matter what you use her for, you can just get into the graveyard again and then just special summon her again another turn. I mean, it is like only while your opponent controls a zero attack monster, but still not bad since she can do it every turn as long as the opponent does happen to have that. And of course, Yamui, not too bad, but the whole cost of having to target one of your reptile monsters as well to get that negative effect kinda sucks. And the second one, it would be better if it simply like changed your monster's attack to 0 and then change your opponent's. Sure, you would have to target one of your monsters that actually has an attack if it was like that. But I still think that would be better, since then you could just pretty easily set up for Vasky, since she needs 2 monsters to tribute in order to special summon herself. Yeah. And then Aperia, not too bad. But you most of the time probably are gonna have to give up your normal summon, since it's not too easy to get this out, not being a reptilian without just normal summoning it. I mean, you could do Monster Reborn, but you kind of don't want to waste a Monster Reborn on that. I guess you could also do Reptilian Recoil. That wouldn't be too bad, since it's a dark. Oh, it's not even a dark reptile, so never mind. You can't even do that. Yeah, it's kind of difficult. I also found that. And then for this one, it can be kind of hard to have 5 or more reptiles. So like this, this might just be a simple foolish burial most of the time, which is another reason why I think Snake Rain would have been better. You could even have this in combination with Snake Rain, and then the second effect could occur a lot more often. Oh well. Anyway, this isn't bad either, since you get to add 2 different stuff or change the attack of one monster in case you need the third effect. But I would say most of the time it's better to add 2 cards to your hand. Seems really good. And then Recurring Nightmare isn't bad. It gets a lot of your monsters back into your hand. A few of these don't have 0 defense, like Some you would want to be able to get back to hand, you can't, just because it doesn't have 0 defense. But it's still not too bad of a card. Oh yeah, and I wasn't even thinking at first, but Reptilian Garden actually pairs up really well with Offering to Snake Deity or the field spell, since you can also destroy yourself and get the effect. And both of these, both the Offering and the Reptilian Recoil, wants to destroy your monster. Also works really well with the Yam Moi Moi effect, the one that the second effect at least, since it also destroys your monster. So yeah, not too bad. And then what else? Oh yeah, I think one of the worst cards of this deck is a Servant. Like, I'm pretty sure like every time I saw it, like I didn't even want to summon it because it's so bad. Like, every time I saw this, my opponent already had a face down monster on the field, so all they had to do was like flip summon it and it would be destroyed. Or I already had monsters on my field, so I couldn't even summon it because my own monsters would have caused it to be destroyed. So yeah, not cool. But yeah, Reptilian Nog isn't too bad. You can either let them attack into her, or you can attack into them. I remember this one duel where I was playing against the Agent Loner deck, and they had 2 monsters on their field. So I had an effect that could search for a Reptilian. I believe it was this one. So I searched for Naga, and then I normal summoned the Naga after they summoned those 2 monsters. I believe it was on the turn after that or something. Maybe it was on the same turn. And so I normal summoned the Naga. I attacked into their lower attack monster, so I would take less damage. And then I was able to special summon out Naomi, since they now had a monster with 0 attack. And I was able to use both of those to go into the Reptilian Echidna, and I used the Echidna's effect to target the Hyperion to make its attack 0. And now that they had 2 monsters with 0 attack, I was able to search for 2 different cards. So yeah, I would say it's actually she is actually really good, because I think a lot of the times you're going to be able to get multiple searches off with her, and sometimes they're going to just have naturally 0 attack monsters on the field, but maybe high defense, and you can still get searches off of those monsters too. So I would say Echidna is a really good card, especially when you can search for a whole bunch and you didn't already use Kodal, because then you can just search for a bunch of reptilians. I remember this one duel, my opponent had all the scapegoat tokens still on the field. I think I got rid of 1, so they kind of pretty much had to keep 3. And then they had 2 other monsters. I'm not sure if I made them 0 attack. I think one of them was 0 attack, because there are a few 0 attack rockets. I think it was the Annis rocket, one of them. And then the other one, I think I made 0 attack. So I was able to search 5 different cards. And I didn't even use Kodal yet. So of course my first search was Kodal, and then I was able to search 4 other reptilian monsters. And then by special summoning the Kodal, since they had a monster with 0 attack, I was able to special summon pretty much all those other, I believe all of those other reptilian monsters. I think one of them was the Vasky also. So I was able to special summon a whole bunch, and I still had the Vasky to get rid of 2 more of their monsters. And I think I also had an Ananta. I'm not sure all that I had. I'm not sure if I did have the Ananta, because Ananta is a pretty big ask. Because since you have to banish all the reptile monsters you control and in a graveyard, she can be a pretty big ask. But anyway, that was so very cool. I think my opponent just ended up surrendering, which, I mean, why wouldn't he? I had so much advantage at that point. It was crazy. So yeah. Unfortunately, a lot of the reptilian monsters, a few of them, like this one, it can only trigger its effect on a normal summon, so that's a little unfortunate. But the sheer advantage, special summoning, all that stuff did, was pretty cool on its own. Oh, I think maybe one of them was a Borload that didn't have, Borload Savage Dragon that didn't have any counters. I don't get it. Some people, though, will just summon a Borload Savage Dragon even when they don't have links in the graveyard. It's like they don't even understand how that monster is supposed to work. I would never summon a Borload Savage Dragon without some kind of link in my graveyard, because one of its best effects is equipping itself with one of the link monsters in your graveyard to give itself counters, because then not only does it gain more attack, but the more important part is it gains a few negates. And sure, the negates are only once per turn during either player's turn, but still really good. And one negate can, like even just one negate can spell disaster. But of course, the really good decks are gonna play the Borload Savage Dragon on top of other negates. But of course, you only can go so well. You only have so much with a loner deck, so you gotta use your resources wisely. Pretty much no matter which loner deck you use. Oh yeah, I'll just talk about that later since it's not pertaining to this deck. I can, of course, go over a few of my, the tips that I wasn't thinking of. So even if I miss a few in these walkthroughs, I can always go over them later on in tomorrow's video, which is like the analysis saying which one is the best, and then I can also talk about some tips that I missed in the previous videos as well. And then, okay. But besides the Echidna, the Alien Sharptrooper is also a really good card. I thought it would be good, because even if you can only place even if your opponent only has 2 monsters, being able to place 2 counters is good enough, since I would say you kind of want to try to place 2 counters at the minimum, because since it's a link 2 monster, if you can, of course, if your opponent has more than just 2 and you're able to place more than just 2, then you're getting a pretty good advantage. If you're able to special summon 3 monsters with its death effect, that's really good, because now you're going plus, since you only use 2 monsters to get to them. So yeah. And also, remember not to be afraid of discarding one of your really good reptilians or reptile monsters from your hand. So sometimes I didn't think about that, and I kind of made bad plays. So you want to think about which cards you want to save for discarding. I remember one duel, I saved the Servant for the discard when I should have just saved, yeah, I think it was a Servant, when I should have saved one of my higher level monsters. I think I forget what it was. I think it was one of my level 2 monsters, one of these guys. I forget exactly which one. I don't think it was Viper though. I think it was one of these guys. So I wasn't thinking though, because if I would discard that, not only would I have been able to place 2 counters instead of just 1, since my opponent had 2 monsters, I would have been able to get 2 monsters out of the graveyard instead of just 1, which would have been at least going equal, so not terrible. I would say 1 is like the worst. Like, if you can help it, definitely make sure you keep a level 2 or higher when summoning this guy. If you have Earthbound Immortal in your hand and you're able to summon this guy, that can be really good. Cause like even though your opponent can actually bring out, they can only control up to 6. So if they're able to have a full field and you're able to discard the Earthbound Immortal, you can still get 5 or 6 counters. Probably mostly 5, if anything. And then later on you can special summon the Earthbound Immortal if you have a field spell. But even if you don't, that's still like 5 special summons. That's almost as good as the Echidna getting like 5 different monsters from the deck. But I would say Echidna getting 5 different monsters is still definitely better. For one thing, you might not even have that many reptiles, but you probably will. It's not that too terribly difficult to get a lot of reptiles, but it usually takes a bit, like maybe a few turns to rack up that many. So that's why I'm thinking Echidna might be a little bit better in cases like that, when you can get major advantage. And Alien Shock Trooper is a little bit more strict in summoning condition, where it requires 2 reptiles and this only requires 1 as one of its link materials. Anyway, but they're both really good, and for being linked 2, like, it's crazy how good they are. Yeah. And then if you're only able to search a few or like 1, I wasn't even thinking that she could actually just search Evil Dragon and Nanta. That's a pretty good search though, if you can only search for like 1 monster with her. Ananta isn't that bad of a search, since she has such an easy way of summoning herself, and she can be a pretty good boss monster too. You do have to put a lot into her, but if you don't have like a ton of like good field monsters anyway, it could be worth it. And like a lot of the times, like you might not have the best on-field monsters to begin with, since for example, Echidna only has 200 attack, and a few of these other monsters like have like 0, and a few of your better stuff aren't reptiles too, so that's another thing about it. And she only banishes reptiles to special summon herself, so stuff like Linkuriboh, the Tri-Brigade, Claire and Rushka, etc. will all be safe from being banished. So yeah, pretty good. But yeah, a lot of your monsters are reptiles, so a lot of them won't be safe. And then, especially like Naomi, it kind of sucks to have to banish Naomi since she has a graveyard effect. But you can also remember you can summon her early if you want. She won't have as much effect, but you can simply summon her and then later use her as a material if you need. So also I would say remember that, like, she doesn't have to be a boss monster. Like, if you simply only have 1 reptile monster that you don't care about in your graveyard, you can like think about that, make sure like it's not a really good one, and then make sure you don't summon one of your reptile monsters before her. And then as long as you do it right, you can like banish that reptile monster in the graveyard, summon her along with another reptile, and then bring maybe your Alien Shock Trooper out, or like your Echidna if your opponent has monsters on the field. So I would say the difference here is like Alien Shock Trooper is a really good monster whether the opponent has has monsters on the field right away or not. And then if your opponent does have monsters on the field, Echidna might be better if you can like be able to like, especially if you can search multiple cards with her. But even if you can only search 1, you can make it the Nanta to like have a pretty good play later on, since like she doesn't need monsters on the field to special summon. So then if your opponent pretty much destroys the entire field, you have Ananta as a backup plan. And that's one thing that makes Ananta really good, the fact that she can be searched so easily. I wasn't even thinking about that, but like, yeah, really good. And then one thing to think about with the Earthbound Immortal is as long as you or your opponent has a field spell, then it won't be destroyed. Yeah. And then of course since it's only saying it needs to be destroyed by a card effect to get rid of all the cards on the field, you can technically, if it's a last resort, you can technically destroy. You do have a few ways of being able to destroy it to proc its effect. But like, I think that's mostly a last resort. Like, offering to Snake Deputy is kind of useless. I mean, I guess if you're targeting the Earthbound Immortal, since like the whole like destruction of your opponent's stuff doesn't really matter when it's going to destroy everything anyway. So this just basically well, I guess it kind of becomes pretty good because like it basically becomes a destroy one face-up reptile monster you control to wipe the entire field, which isn't too bad. But you do have to give up a really high attack monster in order to do it, which is why I'm also saying as a last resort. Like, but like if your opponent's about to get rid of the field spell and that's the only way that's keeping it up, maybe then like that, maybe that's the reason to like destroy it yourself, so that it can get its effect off and just wipe everything. Of course, if you already have a lot of monsters, that might be another reason you don't want to destroy it. The synchro is actually a little bit hard to go into. I think mostly the synchro I was going into was the Old Entity Hastor, but I also went into Riser one time too. It's not too bad. So I still don't know if like synchro summoning this with the Old Entity Hastor and then choosing the Hastor and one of the face-up opponent's cards will still trigger the Hastor because of its other effect where the effects can't be used for the rest of the turn. Or it says with the same name, so I don't even know. So maybe I'll try doing one of these duels. Anyway, I should probably get done here now since it's almost time for me to begin. So I guess one other thing I should know, Snake pretty good because it's a pretty special summon as long as you use its hand effects. That's not too bad. That's another easy way of getting a reptile on the field. And this is really nice since it's a pretty special summon, even if your opponent doesn't have any zero attack monsters on the field. So it might be worth just special summoning her, even if you can't get out of the effect. But you do want to like think about like, because once you use her, it's going to be pretty hard to be able to get back into your hand. Especially since you can't actually add her with Recurring Nightmare because she has more than zero defense. So yeah, you want to kind of be careful. That's why I'm talking about managing resources. Anyway, I think that's about good. Did I point out the main win conditions? So I think the main win conditions, if you can have her be a bunch of attack, maybe you can like just like summon her and then go on for game. And then even if you can't, like her effect to be able to destroy any card on the field is pretty good. But oh yeah, and I was gonna say one big weakness of the deck seems to be against stuff that can't be targeted, since a lot of these effects are targeted. So if you face that kind of deck, you might just lose. I don't know. There's probably a way to get around it, like Raigeki them or Dark Hole them, but you might not even see those cards. Yeah, this one also targets, so that sucks. I guess you could also do Ice Dragon's Prison, since this one doesn't target, so that's good. Crackdown unfortunately targets too, though. So I guess you want to be careful around those effects. Like, if they're playing the rocket effect, you know they have the exceed that, like, can't be targeted. But that can only not be targeted by monster effects. So, like, you can still target them. So you can save maybe your destruction, like, spell and trap effects at target for that Firewall Exceed Dragon. I think it's called. Not is I don't think it's no, it's not the Firewall Exceed Dragon, it's the Bolo Exceed Dragon or whatever it's called. But anyway, I'll just go over the win conditions then. I feel like the win conditions are probably like Echidna, if you can get a lot of advantage off of her. If you're able to search out like 5 different monsters, you should probably win. And especially if you can search out a few like synchro, like tuners and non-tuners, just so you can go into like some of your really good synchro monsters, since those are the ones that like generally have like really high attacks. So like any other sorts of things, so you know you can go into like high attack stuff. It's probably a good way to win. And then another good way to win is like similarly with the Alien Shock Trooper, when you have a bunch of monsters in your graveyard. And the cool thing about Alien Shock Trooper is if you're able to keep it on the field for more than one turn, or like maybe like you have him on the field, you activate his effect right away when he's first on the field, and then you're able to activate his effect again right before your opponent destroys it to like distribute a few more A counters. But I guess the only problem there is like they could easily just get rid of the monsters with A counters, and then you would lose that, and also would have lost a monster for basically no reason. So yeah, that's why I would say it's bad to use this effect when it's about to be destroyed. Anyway, those are just a few of the win conditions. I would say basically one of these in order to be able to swarm the field and be able to like go into a bunch of different maybe like synchro and or exceed plays, since those are where some of your high attackers are going to be. Because a lot of your, but like a few of your monsters have some pretty high attacks as well, so maybe like if you're able to like plan in a way where you get the Codal and able to summon some more of your higher attack monsters, then you can like also do it that way. But like if you're able to special summon a lot of monsters with Codal, then you should be able to like do it where you can go and synchro exceed plays. But if you can't, maybe just try to summon high attack main deck monsters, and then you can win that way. So I would say, but though basically it still applies, just make sure you have a lot of monsters, since yeah, especially if you're able to have like a few monsters with 0 attack on your opponent, on the opposing side of the field. Anyway, let's do this for real. Yeah, that was a bit of a longer walkthrough, but hopefully I still am able to get in 2 duels here. Okay, so here's the first duel anyway. So this first duel I'm up against a really weird username, 8R1K2. So shout out to that person. Okay, so Podzaius is pretty good. The Diamond's of Pink Drops is also pretty good since I'm going second. So as long as my opponent keeps at least one monster on the field, or my opponent can just surrender right away. I might actually be able to get 3 duels done in that case. That's actually really nice. And then after this little series is over, like I have one more video tomorrow, and then after that I'll like make a few videos featuring my the non-loner deck that I'm using for this festival. Maybe the first video, since I'm gonna have a few days with it, I think the first video can be like just going over it kind of like I did with the loner decks, and then the next video can be the gameplay. Should have time for all that, since I'm gonna have quite a few days afterwards. At least like 2 days, so that'll be perfect. As long as I have 2 days, that'll be perfect, because one can be the first look on that non-loan deck of mine, and then the second can be the actual gameplay, along with the walkthrough, a little bit of a more detailed walkthrough. Okay, so the Ugdo-adic Water Lily, I would say, even if you don't have the full graveyard setup to be able to special summon something, I still think it's worth playing it. Then again, do you really need to? Because I'm not gonna, if I play it now, I'm not gonna be able to go into one of my links anyway. Guess I might as well just gnome summon the Reptilian Servant, keep them from gnome summoning. This is pretty much the only time it's useful. I guess you could also go into a link. I wasn't even thinking, you could go into one of your other links right away, but then you kind of lose a reptile, since the 2 link ones you have both aren't reptiles, but you could still go into the echidna with it. I wasn't even thinking, you could do it that way, and then it's not completely useless when you're not going first. But if your opponent has a face-up monster, you can pretty much, that's pretty much a no-go also. At least now my opponent can't gnome summon. So my opponent's gonna pretty much have to special summon, which my opponent can do. Okay. So this is definitely not a loan deck, because none of the loaner decks contain 1-for-1. So then if it's not a loaner deck, I wonder what my opponent's playing. Some kind of deck that has Summon a Monk in it. Maybe I'll get a more good look at it when they actually special summon the level 1. Let's see, some kind of Lyrilusc deck, I guess. Lyrilusc with level 4 stuff, and then Lyrilusc's effect adds a Lyrilusc spell or trap. Okay, I guess I'll let that go through. Okay, that's fine. And then that allows you to search or send a Lyrilusc from your deck to the graveyard to special summon a different one. So I guess it's some kind of like winged beast mashup with summon a monk to summon some of those harpies. Sure. Got the harpies hunting ground. Okay, now I better. But if I do that, then... Yeah, no, I think I'm gonna do this then. Because it basically negates it since it has to remain on the field. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it negates it. Yeah. Yeah, unless it would say like this effect applies even if it leaves the field. That's the only way that the opponent would have been able to still use that effect. I think there are a few field spells or like at least like continuous spells or traps that do say that. Not sure if there's field spells that say that though. Okay, so that kind of sucks that got rid of my servant right away. And there's a bird call. Sure. Yeah, I'm gonna still wait for activating waterfall. I want to see if my opponent maybe goes into a winged beast, exceed or link, and then that would be good. Oh yeah, one thing about this that's kind of cool about this deck is this deck kind of makes it a little bit easier to go into that Tri-Brigade monster also, since it simply just calls for 4 beasts, wing beasts, or something else, I forget. But yeah, pretty nice deck for going to some of those Tri-Brigades, especially that big boss monster guy that banishes the Shirag, I believe it's called. I believe he is. Oh, I can just look at him right here. Talk about this guy, since he calls for a 2+ beast warrior and a wing beast in. My opponent's playing a lot of wing beasts with the Lyrilusc and the Harpies. I wonder if my opponent will go into to him now, since even if my opponent does, I'm ready. I just want to say my opponent here because I don't want to assume genders. So I'll try to just say my opponent when I remember. That way it covers everything. Might be a bit longer, but hey, it's better than getting it wrong and then being called out for it if it turns out to be someone that's subscribed to me. Which I know is probably not a huge chance because I have a few subscribers, but you know what? They might also subscribe to me later on then. And I'm covered there too. Okay, that's during the end phase, so I think I can still wait, but do they have any... Doesn't look like it has any other good abilities, so I think that's fine. Okay, now I think I'm gonna use it. Or should I just take the damage and see what my opponent does? Okay, I think I'm just gonna do it. So it's a winged beast. So what is the best winged beast? Okay, that one can be special summoned from the graveyard to get an effect. That one doesn't seem as bad. This one, of course. I think this one is probably the one. I don't want my opponent getting out of the graveyard. Okay. It's too bad it has to be from both fields. But at least I got rid of that big bird guy. I guess I could have also just... But then again, my opponent would have special summoned something, so I think I had to. Okay, that's not a bad draw, that Pankratops. Huh. I think is there a way I can make it 0 attack? I mean, no, but like I can just destroy it, so shouldn't be a problem. And I don't believe there's any way anything I can send here. That has to specifically be reptiles. I'm probably not getting reptiles in my graveyard anytime soon, so I think I might as well do this. Even though I don't get the special summon. It also helps filter out my deck a little bit too, so that's pretty nice. Does my opponent really have something? What can my opponent have? Some kind of hand trap? I don't think there's anything in the graveyard that can stop this. I don't know what. Oh yeah, there's also this that can be added to my hand later on, but I think that has to be only from the hand. If it doesn't specify, that means from the hand. So I don't know if there's really any way I could do this. Oh yeah, that has to specifically target a reptile I control, so it can't just be anything. Unfortunately, it doesn't treat it as being destroyed. So that's unfortunate. So I should do something that actually has a graveyard effect though. I could do Sinister Serpent, then I can at least no summon it later on. But I don't know. I could also do this one, and then hopefully I can find a way to special summon it a little later on. I don't think the Yamoi. I think the Naomi is my best option. Yeah. I'll go ahead and do the Naomi, I guess. At least I can don't special summon the Pankratops. So I'll go ahead and do that. Want to hang on to the Lightning Storm just in case I need it later on. Okay, now at least my opponent is playing with 2 cards in hand now, so not too bad. I think that was honestly my best play, getting the Naomi in the graveyard. I guess I could have saved it still, but like I probably wasn't going to get. I only had 1 reptile, and I didn't have any other reptiles in my hand, so probably wasn't gonna happen anytime soon that where it would meet that other condition of special summon. Okay. Well, this isn't too bad. Unfortunately, I can't do Lightning Storm since it requires no face-ups. I don't want to get rid of the Pankratops because I kind of need it. Desperately need it. Okay, Monster Reborn. Is there anything good I can special summon? I don't think so. I mean, technically, I could do the Summon a Monk. Technically, I could do the Summon a Monk. I do have a few level 4s. I could send off the Lightning Storm. Yeah, I think I'm gonna first go into battle. And then maybe I can do the Summon a Monk. And then I would be left with 3. Fortunately, I do have to get rid of the Lightning Storm though. Or maybe I shouldn't. Okay, Magical Hats. During your opponent's battle phase, choose 2 spells or traps from your deck and one monster and main monster zone. Special summon them as normal monsters in face down defense position. Set the chosen monster if it is face up and shuffle them on the field. The 2 cards chosen from your deck are destroyed at the end of the battle phase and cannot remain in the field during this battle phase. Huh. That's fine. No. So should I just not attack then? Oh. I believe those are 2 that... So I should probably attack anyway. Actually, I wonder if he would have missed the effect if I would have done that. I might have messed up. Yeah, sure, why not? I'll go for middle. Lost win. Huh. So I think my opponent is gonna be able to special summon 3 different stuff. I don't think there's anything really good I can go into right now. I could at least... Hey, I could go into one of these and then... King of the Fail Imps can search something. But I don't know if I want to get rid of my Lightning Storm to do it. I think I'm just gonna... I think it's fine. Oh, I was wondering if that works. Okay, yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, yeah, I wonder if I would have destroyed the monster if he would have still gone. I should probably done that. I wasn't thinking. Now my opponent's gonna get a ton of advantage. I think this is definitely gonna have to be the last duel. I forget how many duels I had. I think I had... This is my 3rd duel because that first one was so short. Oh boy. Oh boy. That is not good. I think one of them is a really good trap that negates all the effects. Yep, that's really good. Should I destroy it? I don't know. It's a really good. I think I will. I think I have to. I don't want that other special summon. Oh yeah. That counts, doesn't it? Yep. Oh man. Yeah, someone can let me know if destroying the magical hats, I mean destroying the monster when my opponent activates magical hats would have kept him from being able to get out 2 spells or traps. I believe it would have, since he had to, like, yeah, no, it would have definitely fizzed out because he has to specifically choose 2 along with the monster. If I would have gotten rid of the monster, he wouldn't be able to do it. That would have been my best move, and then I might have not lost because then my opponent would have had to top deck basically. So yeah, I definitely lost because I erred there a little bit. But it's no big deal. I still have a lot of time to finish up the festival. I'm taking in small doses. So even if I mess up with this, it doesn't feel so bad because I'm only looking at like a few wins a day to get there eventually. And this is one of the main reasons why. Because I mess up sometimes. At least my opponent was able to go into X deck plays this turn. I got that bear statue now, of course. Okay, well I think at this point, oh, that is so good. Okay. But unfortunately, I kind of, do I? I also have the Pancratop still too, though. What can I do with the level 4? Unfortunately, that's a reptile too, so it would get rid of the... maybe I should just get rid of the monsters with the dark hole and then... I don't know. I guess I kind of need the King of the Fair Limbs. Yeah, I'm just gonna go for it because I'll just get rid of the monsters with the dark hole. I think this is my best play right here. Where I get rid of all the monsters and then I Monster Reborn the Summoner Monk. And then I'll activate its effect to special summon a level 4. Which one is best to do here? Probably not that one. I guess this one. And then what can I go into? I can go into any of these. I think I'm gonna choose King of the Fair Limbs to set up maybe the Nanta, and then I can get rid of that. Wait, how much is that gonna be? Okay, that's fine. And then I'll just activate its effect. Hopefully this can go through. I'll get rid of the Gardener first. To add, I think a Nanta is my best play. I mean, I could add the other one that special summons, but I think a Nanta. I could also add the Kodal, but I don't have any other monsters. I think the Nanta is my best option. I want to see how much attack it's going to go up by. So 600, 1200. That's the only problem. I don't have a ton of reptiles. 2400, which is a little respectable, but I'm just gonna battle. I'm gonna go in my battle phase. Okay, cool. And then I think I it's hard, but I think I gotta go for the... That's the only thing though. If I don't get rid of the lost win, then you can just negate the effect and it would go down to 0 attack and defense. So, do I special summon it or not? You know, I don't think I will. Yeah, I don't think I will. I'm just gonna end. I'll save it for a future turn. Since it's also gonna get rid of my King of the Field Imps. Technically, I could have gone to Ragnar Zeal, but then I wouldn't have been able to search for a Nanta. Okay, I'm gonna have to... Yeah, hopefully this duel ends pretty soon. But in case you have to miss a little bit about a bit of it, I'll just do another short video that shows off the ending of it. But I'll go ahead and say the outro now. So I hope you enjoyed this these duels. Please like, share, and subscribe, and if you did, and consider that ring that notification bell for regular content. And I'll see you in tomorrow's video where I go over my final thoughts of each of the decks and say which one I think was the best. Okay, bye everyone. I won't stop it yet. I'll wait until the time goes completely off, and then if I have to stop it and do another quick one, I will. But I'll still make sure I get the ending for you. Neither player can spell summon monsters except win. I can just destroy that unless my opponent has Moon Mirror Shield or something. Offering to Snake Deity isn't too bad. Oh, I do get to add another, so I'm better do this first to add another reptile. Oh yeah, the lost win, but at least it does get rid of the lost win now. It still has enough attack too, so that's good. Unless my opponent has like something. Oh. Well, that's good. Guess I kind of have to do a Nanta now. I think I might as well spell summon in defense position. Does my opponent have something for that? No. Okay, good. So now I can set this. And then N, and then Ananta gets to destroy something. I think I'll destroy the newly set card. Oh, infinite impermanence. Okay, so it would have negated the effect anyway, so it's actually fine. Wait, it gets the effect again, right? It loses the even when it gets its effects back, it loses the attack and defense boost permanently. That's crazy. Wow. Wow, okay. Well, I guess that's good to know. So if Ananta ever gets negated, even if it's just temporary, it permanently loses its attack. It permanently forgets its attack and defense. Wow. Well, I guess I kind of have to do this. Okay, I think I might lose here, but I guess at least on the bright side, I might not have to go into a new... Oh, actually my opponent... Okay, looks like we're pretty much just top decking now, so that's good. Okay, this could... Yeah, this could still take a little bit. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to start a new video to show off the ending of this duel. I think I'll do that now. So I'll stop this one.